Okay, what's your name?
Pamela Wells.
And what year were you born in?
1954.
And what do you think is the most important part that women played in history?
Well, from the time I can remember, women were like the heart of the family. They were responsible for taking care of the children, cooking, and teaching the children how they should behave, and the chores that they did later on. It helped you to become more responsible, and it helped you to realize that that you had to do your part. You have to work, and take care of yourself. And then as I got older, I realized that most women at that time, if they had a job, they were nurses or a caregiver, some type of caregiver, and there wasn't really that many jobs for women. Um, it was just different back then. If you didn't have a husband, your life probably was a lot harder. You probably had to stay with a family member because that's just the way it was back then. Most men worked in the mines or, just some type of a job, and the woman took care of the children in the home.
Okay, so whenever women were first allowed to be nurses,
Yes.
did you think that was strange or at the time? Or did other people think it was strange?
Well, since women were usually caregivers, a nurse seemed like a good job for a woman at that time, because a nurse would care for the patients and feed them, bathe them, whatever that they needed, and that's basically what a woman would do when she was home. So it didn't seem really that strange, but later on I started realizing that women could work in a bank, they could work in stores, and then as time changed, and women become more important to work outside of the home to afford more things that people felt like they needed.
And wasn't your grandmother a nurse?
Yeah, my great grandmother was. They were called. Well, they were the women that helped deliver babies, and sometimes they did it on their own. They were midwives, and when someone knew that it was getting close time for the baby to be born, they would go get the midwife, and she would help them give birth in their home. And sometimes they was a doctor, and sometimes they couldn't get a doctor. So the midwife was really important back then.
We learned in history class that whenever women first started becoming nurses, that they had to ride horses and over rough land and stuff and rough weather, and later on it turned into jeeps.
Yes, that's true. When you had a job, it was hard to get, from point A to point B. It really was, especially if the weather was bad, the roads weren't very good. People rode on horses, and it was just really hard. It was really a hard time.
Okay.